A man celebrated his son's birthday for the first time in 8 years, but he gave him a mysterious iron box as a gift, just as the boy cautiously reached out his hand. He saw his son's blood flowing from the mechanical bracelet that had clamped onto his wrist. The father, a scientist, calmly told him that once the bracelet was put on, it could not be taken off. However, he assured his son that this bracelet would be of great help to him in the future. Then, the scientist hurriedly left and was never heard from again. Time quickly fast-forwarded to the year 2067. Jack, who wore the bracelet, had grown up, but the Earth had undergone a huge change. Due to incessant environmental pollution, the ozone layer was destroyed, and all plants on Earth had become extinct. The oxygen content in the air was no longer sufficient to meet human needs. In order to survive in such an environment, it was necessary to purchase synthetic oxygen from the oxygen company. Ordinary people could only afford to purchase low-purity oxygen to live, but this kind of oxygen had serious side effects. Long-term use would cause lung disease. Jack's wife, Annie, had developed a serious lung disease due to long-term use of this oxygen. In order to treat his wife's illness, he had to work hard every day, but it still could not alleviate her symptoms. Just when Jack was in despair, he was abruptly called into the office of the oxygen research company. As soon as he sat down, the boss, Jenny, told Jack that he might be the only hope to save the Earth. Jack was puzzled by this statement. He was just a low-level maintenance worker, so how could the task of saving the Earth fall on his shoulders? Seeing that Jack did not believe her, Jenny directly took him to the company's underground laboratory, where there was a huge time-space shuttle machine. The scientist told Jack that a few days ago, they had received a message from 400 years in the future, and the content of the message was Jack's name. This fully indicated that humans in the future had already found a way to save the Earth, and the problem of insufficient oxygen had been fully resolved. Therefore, they wanted Jack to go and find out. However, the biggest problem was that this time-space shuttle machine could only be used one way. Jack, who was already full of doubts, immediately refused. But Jenny asked him to reconsider. If he could agree to go to the future 400 years later to find answers, the company would definitely cure Annie's disease. That night, when Jack returned home, he repeatedly thought about it. He knew that once he agreed, he would definitely go and never return. But thinking of his wife's illness that could no longer be delayed, he resolutely pushed open the office door the next day and told Jenny that as long as she promised to cure his wife's disease, he was willing to go to the future 400 years later. After receiving Jenny's affirmative answer, Jack put on a specially made spacesuit and stood in front of the time shuttle machine. As the instrument started up, Jack began the first time-space shuttle in human history. However, when he had just opened his eyes from the dizziness, he saw a scene that he had never dared to imagine before.